And we are now actually looking at a new group of people that Peter's addressing as far as this idea of submission goes. So keep it in context, he's still talking about how we can be able to behave properly in this world and in our relationships with others, even when we're going through times of suffering. And so he has been focusing on this concept, this word, this idea of submission. And what is that definition? What does it mean? I'm going to keep asking this every Sunday. So it's branded within the back of your minds. How does Peter define the word submission?
Chaste and respectful behavior.
What's that?
Chaste and respectful behavior.
Chaste and respectful behavior, absolutely. I mean, that is the thought of what Peter has been focusing on, about how we can continue on having respectful, chaste, good behavior in our relationship toward others. And part of that is submitting to every human institution.
Laws.
And what's that?
Submit to the laws.
Submit to the civil laws.
Unless they go against God.
Unless they go against God's will or God's standard. All right? And then you are to submit servants to your masters. And that is, in the sense of a good application for us, would be employee and employer relationship. But then, chapter 3, he now has a relationship between wives and their what? What kind of husbands?
He can be a Christian husband. But
What's
he doesn't
that?
have to be. He doesn't have to be a Christian husband, but he needs to.
Yeah, it doesn't have, okay, he's not a Christian husband, but he needs to be. All right, so he's addressing wives who are married to unbelieving or non-Christian husbands. So it seems that the wives there were having a hard time going through times of suffering, times of ridicule from their own husbands because they are Christians, but he is not. So again, submission. How does Peter define this word? I give you a hint. All right. Voluntarily place yourself under another, even when what? Even when you don't agree. All right. Voluntarily, willingly placing yourself under another, even when you disagree. All right. So now, keep in mind, though, that in the specific context of what's going on is that Peter is talking to wives who have husbands that are not Christians. Now, can this scenario also apply vice versa?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. It can definitely apply to, husbands who are Christians, but their wives are not. And so how are you supposed to behave? Even when you're facing ridicule from your non-believing spouse who tends to maybe mock you, tends to criticize you, tends to ridicule you, make fun of you.
It's not a good spouse.
It's not a good spouse, yeah. It's not a good spouse. But how can we win them over?
Continue to do it anyway. Continue going to church and continue doing what you should be doing.
Yes, by continuing to go to church, by continuing to do what you're supposed to be doing.
And pray for them.
Pray for them, absolutely. Definitely pray for them. And so Peter says that you might not be able to win them over by the word, but you can win them over by, in what way? Your action, your example. Verse 1, he says it right there. That even if any of them are disobedient to the word, they may be won without a word by the behavior of their wives. Now, this word won, as we focused on last Sunday, is the idea of investment or required effort on one's end. So, again, we kind of briefly discussed about Peter implying on personal responsibility here. Who's in or who's responsible for requiring that effort or investing that amount of effort to win over their non-believing spouse? Who's responsible for that? The wife. Yes, the Christian spouses. Now, that's not to say that the church and the preachers and the elders and deacons and fellow faithful church members, that doesn't mean that they cannot step in and help them. I mean, we should step in and try to help them. Absolutely. But Peter says in the end, the spouse is the one who's with them almost just about 24/7 in a way. You're with them in public and you're with them behind closed doors. And so you, out of everybody in the church, know your spouse better, much better. And so you're the one who's going to be responsible in the end for having to try to win them over. Now, as long as we do our part, as long as the Christian spouse does his or her part, then that's all they can do. Because does Peter promise that they're going to become a Christian, that the non-spouse is going to become a Christian, non-believing spouse is going to become a Christian? No. It's not a... No, it's not a guarantee. No, it's not a guarantee. It's not a promise. But as long as you, on your end, try to do your part, God sees that and God understands that. And so I just want to be clear on that, of what Peter is trying to imply here. But Peter tells the woman is that actions speak louder than words. And so the point is that you are not going to hard beat the spouse into conversion. Or as what they try to say, Bible thump your non-believing spouse into conversion. What does Bible thumping mean? Have I heard that word before, Bible thumping?
Well, I mean, you stand a chance of alienating a little bit too with Bible thumping, right?
Absolutely. You can kind of push them a little bit further away if you try to Bible thump.
I mean, your intentions are good, but
Yes.
the results are not good.
Not good. Exactly. And so Bible thumping simply means like beating them over the head with the Bible, in a sense. But that's not going to work for them. As what Lee is trying to mention here is that the results could be the fact that you may alienate them. You may push them a little bit further away, from the truth. And so Peter says that in that case, you just allow your actions to speak. All right, actions speak louder than words. Because sometimes the best Bible for people to read is your actions, is the way that you are living. Now, it's not going to be perfect. Now, I mean, you're going to make mistakes, and sometimes that's what's hard, at least for a Christian spouse, to be, I guess, with their non-Christian spouse, is that when the Christian wife makes a mistake, for example, what does the non-Christian spouse tend to do sometimes? Criticize them. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were supposed to be a Christian. I thought you were supposed to be a faithful follower of Jesus. But you did that? Wow. Well, are we going to be perfect? No. But in the case or a scenario of when that happens, there's a teaching opportunity. Do you know that? What can the Christian wife say to the non-believing husband when he ridicules or criticizes her for making a mistake? What can she say?
Something along the lines of, we're not all going to not fall. It's who gets up that are going to be the ones that are saved.
Yeah. Who gets up, who repents.
Yep.
Yeah. Or as James says, apologize. Yeah. Apologize, repent. Use that as like a teaching opportunity and be like, well, yeah. I mean, I did make that mistake. But I repented, and I'm going to confess it, to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and ask for his forgiveness, and I'm going to keep moving forward.
And our Lord specifically makes allowance for that, proving that he's understanding.
Yeah.
If you're not trying to be perfect in front of them, but admit that you make mistakes too, but you both need to learn from it and continue to try to live the kind of life you should.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's common sense in a way. I mean, it's just you admitting to them, saying like, yeah, I'm not a perfect human being. That's why I need Jesus to begin with.
Sure.
That's why I need Jesus, because I'm not perfect. And so we both got to understand about our mistakes that we make, admit to them, know that we need Jesus, that I need Jesus, and ask for his forgiveness and keep moving forward. And so I've encountered a lot of married couples, one who's a Christian and the other who's not. And that's probably what the biggest thing that they have is when they come and share with me about what goes on whenever he or she makes a mistake. is that, man, it's like my non-believing spouse is like right there, just ready, to criticize me, waiting for me to make a mistake. And it's like, when I do make a mistake, it's like, they're just on the attack nonstop, like right on the attack. And it's like, well, best thing you can do is use that as a teaching opportunity. Use it as a teaching opportunity, just like what we discussed here. And so now Peter goes on. Now, notice what he says in verse 2. He's encouraging the Christian women to not manipulate, don't connive, don't jab, don't nag, but love. Have a home life. Live so your husband can bask in goodness. And the way that he can do that is through your good behavior, your good conduct, and your good example that you are living for Jesus Christ. And he says in verse 2, as they observe your chastity or respectful behavior. Other versions may say when they see your respectful and pure conduct. So again, this word observe. It's that same idea that goes back to chapter 2, verse 12. What does chapter 2, verse 12 say? Keep your conduct among the Gentiles honorable, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may observe or see your good deeds and glorify God on the day of visitation. So that word observe means to carefully examine and to keep a watchful eye on. This is a do as I do situation, not a do as I say motto. The husband observes his wife's chaste or respectful, pure conduct, pure behavior. Now, pure. What does that mean? What does purity mean?
Clean.
Clean. For those who are in our James class, we talked about it not too long ago. But clean. What else?
Not mixed with good and questionable.
Okay, yeah, so it's not mixed with, good and questionable things or bad things. It doesn't mix with that stuff. What else?
Untainted.
Untainted, unstained, unspotted. What else? Another word I'm looking for.
Submits. Oh, it's a Lord, of course, right?
Okay, all right.
Submission to your spouse as well.
It definitely goes hand in hand with this concept of submission, without a doubt. Because if we're living an untainted life, a clean life before God the Father, whose will are we submitting to? God's, His will. And His will is for us to submit to every human institution, as long as it doesn't go against God's standard. Employee and employers submit, and then believing spouse is to submit to the non-believing spouse. And so this word purity, cleanliness, goes hand in hand with the same concept of what Peter has been talking about since the beginning of his book, his letter, in chapter 1. Holiness. Holiness. That's the idea here, is holy. And what does holiness mean?
Righteous.
Righteous. All right, let me ask you this. All right, a sanctified life means what kind of a life?
Godly.
A godly life. And when God sanctifies us, He pulls us out of where?
Darkness.
Darkness and into what?
Light.
Into light. All right. So He sets us apart from the world and places us in the light for a special purpose. That is what sanctified means. That's what holiness here means. Purity, cleanliness, godliness, being set apart for a special purpose or special reason. He sees here, the unbelieving husband sees here the set apart lifestyle, the different lifestyle that is pleasing in the eyes of God through her life. So she has set herself apart in holiness because of the God that she serves. And so she submits to her unbelieving husband. And here's the thing, your Christianity may cause you suffering, but your fear, your respect for the Lord will motivate you to submit, knowing that God is the one who has the power to destroy. Because when they see your respectful and pure conduct, you know, that word respectful is, once again, is where we get that Greek word for fear. Fear, that phobos. So again, why is she setting herself as a good example for her unbelieving husband? What motivates her?
Love.
Love and, say it loud, fear of the Lord. Yes, the love and the fear of the Lord that she has. So once again here, you might see this as an example of what we may call the silent majority. Now, we often use that phrase in our politics. Am I right, Devin? Yeah, the silent majority people, right? What is the silent majority people? What are they known to be as? Go on, it's okay. If y'all not heard that phrase before, silent majority. Yeah. The silent majority.
They don't participate.
They don't participate, but they allow what to do their speaking?
Somebody else.
Bible.
No.
We may use it, okay. The way that we've been using the silent majority phrase is the fact that we don't participate, but we let our vote do the talking for us. Yeah. That's the way that I've been taught of what that word means. People may have been taught differently.
Let their actions.
Yeah. Let their actions do the talking. And then so like in politics, we let the vote do our talking. Exactly. And let our actions do the talking. So this is the case for here of the believing wife. She is the silent eloquence of life, and it's much more effective than a vigorous debate because she is allowing her actions to speak for her. And she doesn't have to verbally say anything. But sometimes Christianity is better demonstrated than debated. What she says with her life will be much more eloquent than what she says with her lips. This does not mean that she should not study with him if he finally or eventually decides to have that open door to want to know a little bit more about God and his word. Because there's going to come a time, if that were the case, if he decides to want to know more about God and his word, then yes, you're going to have to verbally study with him. So it just means that in all probability, the most powerful weapon in her arsenal will be the force of her faithful example and lifestyle. Now, here's one thing I find a little bit interesting. And I kind of struggled with this, studying this text. Peter goes on to, he mentions about how you're to win them over with your example, by your actions, by your lifestyle. And then out of nowhere, like in verse 3, he then starts talking about your clothing. I'm just like, what does that have to do with anything? What does it have to do with winning them over by your actions? What does the clothing have to do with that? Somebody go ahead, look at verse 3. Yeah. Verse 3 and 4. Somebody go ahead and read that.
Your adornment must not be merely external braiding the hair and wearing gold jewelry or putting on dresses.
Verse 4.
Oh, 4. I thought you said 3.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
Okay. But let it be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is precious in the sight of God.
All right, thank you very much. Now, question number 3 on the discussion sheet, if you still have it with you. The question is, what does her adornment, what she wears, have to do with winning over her husband to Christ?
Well, it depends on how she goes out into the world, too. If she goes out dressed properly, you understand. But if she goes out with a tank top, short shorts up, you're like, no, that's not how you dress. It's all a matter of respect, how she dresses herself to show respect.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Kevin,
And
go ahead.
well, the fact that Peter put the these passages on modesty, which is what this is, modesty,
Mm-hmm.
into a passage about respectful and pure conduct shows that outward adornment is part of the idea of modesty, and our society has emphasized this all the more with our TikTok / Instagram / OnlyFans generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's all part of that pure respectful and pure conduct is not letting that adorning be external. Basically, what everybody sees is the outer beauty.
Mm.
But verse 4, let your adorning
There
be
you go.
hidden.
That's right.
That's the point, is the beauty needs to be hidden on the inside.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that perhaps some of these Christian wives were thinking that in order to win their husband over to the Lord, they had to dress a certain way?
Somebody.
Yeah, because if that was the case, then why would Peter say, do not wear these certain types of clothing? If they weren't trying to win them over with their clothing.
They still do it today.
They still do it today. Which is why this is still very relevant and applicable for us today as well. I mean, what she wears on the outside, it's not going to bring her husband to the Lord. It is on the inside that shows the hidden part. Go ahead.
You have the silent majority, right? It's
Mhm.
influencing. You don't realize it, but you dress modest. People are going to see you and not, think that you are not a Christian.
Yeah. Excellent point. And so, again, that external, the idea of them thinking that, okay, well, the way I can probably try to win them over is through my external appearance. But Peter says that's not how it works. David?
Hidden part, the beauty that's there, the marriage will last.
Mm.
The marriage is built on external things. It's not going to last.
That's right. It's not. Now, is Peter saying that it's wrong to put makeup on or
No.
to wear earrings or to look presentable and respectful? Is he saying that's wrong? No. Again, what's the problem here?
Don't focus on that. Focus on the inner. It's all right to dress nice, but the submissive and respectful attitude is what they need to put forth.
Yes. So Peter says basically, he says, you women, Christian wives, spend as much time on your soul as you do on your face. With the makeup and with the hairstyling, the hair curling and whatnot. I mean, as much as you spend time on that, spend time on your soul as much as you do on your face. Spend as much time on your heart as you do on your hair. A beautiful face is a luck of birth, but a beautiful soul must be made. A beautiful wedding is fine, but spend more time on the marriage than the wedding. That's the idea of what Peter is saying. It's not necessarily wrong for you to dress appropriately and respectful, but spend as much time on your soul as you do on that. Because that's how you're going to win your husband over.
A woman can dress attractively without overdoing it,
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He says, let the hidden person of the heart. What's the hidden person of the heart? What's that mean?
One that's not apparent from the clothing and all that stuff, the personality
Oh.
of the person, irregardless of the way they're dressing.
Okay. All right. Now, take it along the lines of that. Okay, you mentioned like personality and whatnot. Who knows your personality better than anyone besides God, with the exception of God?
Probably your spouse or yourself.
Yourself and your spouse, basically. So yes, the hidden person of the heart, it is the secret part of knowing your spouse. It will come out on those day-to-day situations. How gentle they are and how kind they act regardless of the situation. Again, it's not going to be perfect. There can be days where we wake up cranky. There can be days where it's going to be hard, sleepless nights. Going through that with our kids right now. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be those day-to-day situations. But how gentle they are and how kind they act regardless of the situation. Now, is that easier said than done? Yeah. Because just like I said, I mean, because you're going to have those days where you felt like you didn't get any rest at all. You're going to be tired. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be overwhelmed. Work's been killing you and whatnot. And so we can get grumpy. We can get very grumpy, very irritable, quickly and easily. But Peter says that you have the willpower to control the way that you behave. Now, boy, I'm preaching to myself right now.
Cory,
Yes.
I know this is talking about wives, so you're already married, but I think to go along with that, when you're dating, you should already start setting an example and talking to them and kind of let them know that that's what kind of life you want to live and,
Yeah.
you know, to think of, start there.
Yes. Start right there at the courtship, the courting, the dating. Yes. And again, I mean, once you mentioned that, I mean, I'm thinking of Song of Solomon. I mean, we need to do a study on Song of Solomon, man. I tell you what, man, it's a great book. And of course, the first 2 chapters, it's about Solomon and his courting of the Shulamite woman. The dating. It's the dating stage. Then you get into chapter 3, they're talking about the marriage, and you have the wedding ceremony, and then from chapter 4 on to the end of the book, he talks about the rest of what married life's going to look like. Yeah. And so when you start right there at the very beginning, during the dating process. That's how you get to know the other person, and that's how you can be able to share with them, this is what I'm looking for in my life and in my marriage and whatnot in the future. And I would even say that, what makes it hard too at times is that, you're dating for who knows how long, and then you're engaged for who knows how long, then you're married. And then day one into living under the same roof together. What's that like? Anybody remember?
Wake up call.
Wake up call, because now you're looking at how the person actually lives in the house.
Squeeze that toothpaste in the middle.
Yeah, squeeze that toothpaste in the middle. Yeah. Do you squeeze the toothpaste at top, at the bottom, in the middle? Or do you put the toilet paper on, roll it down, or roll it backwards? Or as I say, do you roll it with the beard, or do you roll it like the mullet? Yes. Yeah. So which way does the toilet paper go on? And things like that. And then you probably look at those little negative pet peeves that may drive you crazy. Whether if it's snoring, whether it's you leave your clothes in the bathroom floor without throwing it into the dirty hamper and whatnot. But the toilet seat up or the toilet seat down. I mean, things like that. Things like that. I mean, you're starting to learn more about those things when you first start, living together. But does it end with that right there?
No.
Do you continue on knowing your spouse more and more?
You
Even
change.
what's
You
that?
change through time too.
Yes.
Because then kids come along and you do other things with kids and your priorities change.
Mm-hmm.
You change.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, having kids isn't going to fix, right?
Yeah.
The wanting to, and oftentimes the kids end up kind of being fodder a little bit.
Yeah.
With 2 parents, one being with and one being without the Lord.
Oh yeah. That's right.
And then you already have enough stress learning, to know each other, and then you throw that on top of it.
Oh yeah.
And it makes it even more difficult.
Absolutely. And there's a passage in the Old Testament that mentions, how a divided house, never stands. Divided house always ends up falling. But kind of, I guess, getting back to the thought of what's the hidden person of the heart is, it's that secret part of, knowing your spouse. It's those situations, those day-to-day situations in which, others may not see, but you see it because you're living with them 24/7. So as we get to know someone more deeply, we get to know the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable quality. I like that phrase, the imperishable quality. Because when we're so caught up on the external, what's going to happen to the external? David mentioned it earlier. What's going to happen to the external? It's going to fade. It's going to change. It's going to perish. But the inner person of the heart, that inner quality, the person's character, the persona, that never changes. Well, it can. I mean, you can change it for the good, but who's the only one who can actually change it for the better and for the good? Yourself and God. Absolutely. And so the outside is perishable. 50 years down the road, your spouse is not going to look like he or she used to look. So Peter is saying that the braiding of the hair, the wearing of the special pearls, the gold necklaces, the jewelry, the putting on of apparel is not the Christian woman's chief concern or primary concern. She's interested much more in the dress of the inner person, which is to be attired with a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of God. So this hidden quality of the person is not going to perish away. Instead, it becomes imperishable of a gentle and quiet spirit. What does Peter mean when he says a gentle and quiet spirit?
She doesn't draw attention to herself.
Ooh.
I think she's more concerned about his needs maybe, or others' needs than her own.
Ooh. I like that. Okay. Say that last part one more time. She's more concerned about whose needs?
Others, her spouses in this case, but others, anybody's.
Yes.
She doesn't blow up.
She doesn't blow up. Yeah.
She handles everything patiently.
Mm.
She handles it quietly. She doesn't let it blow up.
Yeah.
You know, I've known men like that too. My dad was like that. Never blew up.
She's not selfish and self-centered.
Yeah.
Even when he corrected and used the belt, he wasn't blowing up. He made sure you understood, and he was never any yelling.
Yeah.
Never yelling.
Yeah. You know what's one thing I always find amazing is that with some people that quality almost comes just naturally. I mean, at least that's what we think. We see it and we never observe them blowing up or getting just overly heated or just quick to anger. And it's like we look at that and we just think, man, just that calmness, that quietness, that peacefulness, it just seems to almost come just naturally with them. Me, I have to work on it.
I do too.
I have to work on it. A lot of us have to work on it. But the thing is that like we can have that gentle and quiet spirit, right?
Yeah.
We can have it if we're willing to work on it. Okay, but anyways, that was our bell already. We got through what? How many verses? 3? Okay. Hey, 3. That's good. That's good. All right. Well, we'll come back next Sunday and we'll pick up right there on the gentle and quiet spirit. But thank you everybody for your participation, your comments, your questions, and your answers. And class is dismissed.